Today, we're going to talk about Ethereum and not just against the US dollar, but also against Bitcoin. And later in the video, I'll show you exactly where I'm looking to buy Ethereum. So you're not going to want to miss that. And if you guys are enjoying this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel and also hit that like button. Let me know you like this content and also let YouTube know you like it as well. All right, so hopping right into the chart here, Ethereum is testing support today. So we talked about this yesterday. This area right around 3,100 to 3,200. This is a key support for Ethereum. You can see where it was a pivot back here in 2021. And so the daily close is going to be key today. As long as it stays above that area, this area right around 31 to 3,200 is going to be support. Now resistance comes in at 3,600. So you can see where this was support back here and resistance before that. Okay, so 3,600 is going to be resistance and support is once again right around 3,150, maybe 3,160. Now, if we do see Ethereum close below this area, the much bigger support is going to be right around $3,000, maybe just below it. And that's based on the mid-range of the price action from 1,700 all the way up to the all-time high. So if we look at the weekly time frame, you can see exactly where this area comes in relation to this multi-month range. So 1,700 was the low down here, obviously all-time high up here. And the key support that I'm looking at is right around 28 to 2,900. So this is going to be a much bigger support level than where Ethereum is today. And the reason for that is because if you draw your fibs from this low down here at 1,700 all the way up to the all-time high, you can see that the 50% comes in right here. So this is the mid-range of 1,700 to the all-time high, and that level comes in just below $2,900. Now, while we're on the weekly time frame, let's go ahead and talk about something else here. So I mentioned this yesterday, how Ethereum back here, you can see where $4,000 was resistance, and Ethereum then closed above it. This area served as support for several weeks. However, last week Ethereum closed back below $4,000, and that was also a monthly close. So the point here is that as long as Ethereum is below this area up around $4,000, you have to be a little bit careful here. And I also don't think it makes sense to look for moves like we saw last year. I know a lot of people are looking to buy at support, same thing for Bitcoin, and to watch this market just skyrocket 200%. And, look, it could happen, but I don't think that we're in that environment anymore. So I think it makes a lot more sense to just go ahead and play the range. So right now, we're no longer in this environment that we saw in 2021, and that's okay because as long as we know that, we can play the range here and just take what the market gives us. So with that in mind, if we were to see a move down here toward this area around $3,000, maybe just below it, that's where I want to buy, okay? I want to buy down in this area, and I'll be looking for a move back here toward 31 to 3,200, and then also up toward 3,600. Because from this area down here up toward 3,600, that's about a 25% move, which is well worth my time. So if I can catch 25% moves like that, I'm going to do it all day long. But the point here is that as long as Ethereum is below that $4,000 area, as I said, it makes a lot more sense to play the range here and just look for those short-term moves rather than expecting this market to just gain 100% within a few weeks' time. All right, so that's what I'm looking for right now. I would love to see a move down here toward this $3,000 area to buy Ethereum in that range. Now, let's go ahead and talk about what Bitcoin would have to do in order for us to see Ethereum that low, because even from today's price, this area down here comes in about 10% below the current price. So obviously we would need to see Bitcoin sell off a little bit more in order to see Ethereum also head down toward that $3,000 area. So if we look at Bitcoin, this is something we've talked about now for the last few weeks, where I was expecting a move down toward at least 42, if not down to 40,000, just based on what Bitcoin has done in the past. So if you missed those videos, really quickly, every single time Bitcoin puts in a liquidation wick like this, it tends to move just below it before putting in a bottom. So this latest liquidation wick was right around $42,000. So therefore I was looking for a move at least down toward 40, if not just below that before the bottom is in. Now, Bitcoin has a tendency to move about 5 to 8% below that liquidation wick before finding a bottom. So if the same thing were to happen, from this low down here around 42, if we measure 5% lower, that gives us a target somewhere around 40,000, and 8% would be somewhere around 38.5. Now, it's probably going to take Bitcoin around 38,500 in order for us to see Ethereum head down toward that $3,000 area. So that's going to be key as well. If we were to see Bitcoin bounce from here, then Ethereum probably also finds support at this current level today and then also bounces. But I would expect to see Bitcoin head maybe a little bit lower from today's low. So down here into the $40,000 region, potentially just below that before really finding a bottom here, maybe early next week, and then getting back above 42 and then also 45. Okay, so that's what Bitcoin is going to have to do in order for us to see Ethereum really come down into that mid-range just below $3,000. Now, since we've talked about Ethereum and also Bitcoin, it makes sense to go ahead and look at Ethereum against Bitcoin as well. And if we look at the daily time frame, this is something I mentioned weeks ago where we got this breakout from a triangle pattern that's formed ever since the high back here in May. Now, we had the breakout of this pattern, and today we are seeing the retest. So this really comes down to 0.075. That's going to be the level that's going to serve as a hinge between whether or not Ethereum is likely to outperform Bitcoin or underperform Bitcoin. So the bottom line here is as long as Ethereum is above 0.075, it's likely to outperform Bitcoin. If we see the market close below 0.075, then this market could really start to unwind, and we could see Ethereum then start to underperform Bitcoin. So this is going to be important if you are looking to trade or buy Ethereum even for a DCA. Paying attention to Ethereum against Bitcoin is going to be critical to determining the strength and weakness between the two. So 0.075 is going to be the level to watch here. Above it, Ethereum is likely to outperform Bitcoin. A close below it, and Ethereum is then likely to underperform Bitcoin. Now, as long as it stays above that area too, one area to watch is going to be up here right around 0.1 or 10%. So if ETHBTC got to this level, it would indicate that Ethereum is about 10% of Bitcoin's price. And the reason this area is going to be critical is because this is the objective of this pattern that we saw break out back here. All right, so if you take the height of this pattern and measure higher from the breakout point back here, you get a target up around 0.1. And if we move out and look at the last few years, you can see where this price action is really just a small part of what's played out for ETHBTC over the past few years. So this is the pattern that we just looked at, and you can see how small it is compared to that multi-year symmetrical triangle that broke out in 2021. Okay, so we had the breakout from this pattern back here, retest as new support here, and so far the market has trended higher nicely. Now, this is 0.1, so this is the measured objective of this smaller pattern here. And the objective of that larger pattern, this larger symmetrical triangle, comes in between 0.15 and 0.17, which also lines up with the all-time high for ETHBTC. So over the longer term, I would expect this market to trend higher up here to this area. Of course, it all comes down to 0.075 in the short term, though, as I mentioned. So we want to see this market stay above that in order to see Ethereum continue to outperform Bitcoin over the short term. So circling back now to Ethereum, and I hope all this is making sense, guys. I know it's a lot to uncover, but going back to Ethereum here, again, it is at support right now, right around 3160, 3170. A close below that, and we probably are looking at a move down toward this mid-range, right around $3,000 or maybe just below it. And as I said, this is where I really want to buy. From there, I'd probably take off some here at this resistance area, and then also again at 3,600. So lastly, just keep in mind, as long as Ethereum is below $4,000, you have to take what the market gives you, because we're no longer in this environment that we were in 2021, where there's just easy money and you can just buy anywhere and make money as long as you hold it for a week or two. So we're no longer in that environment, guys. Take what the market gives you. As long as it's below $4,000, you have to be a little bit careful. If we do see Ethereum, though, over the coming weeks and months reclaim this area up here at $4,000 on a weekly and monthly closing basis, then yes, I do think we're going to see a continuation of the trend that we saw in 2021. But until that time, I'm going to play the range. I'm going to look to buy right around that $3,000 area. and 3,600 is going to be that key resistance along with the $4,000 region. So I hope that this video has helped you guys. If you enjoyed the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave your comment below, and I will talk to you guys soon.